The story begins on a mysterious island in the middle of the ocean. There, we see a massive stadium, completely packed with people. Everyone present had their eyes fixed on the staff standing in front of them. Then, on the staff's signal, a huge 3-meter-long shark was slowly pulled upward as bait. At that moment, a boy sitting there realized that something big was about to happen. He immediately asked his older brother to look, and the moment his brother raised his head, a gigantic creature suddenly burst out of the water. At the exact same time, the viewing platform suddenly began slowly descending underground. In reality, an even more dangerous show was waiting for them there. As soon as the platform reached below, that massive creature became clearly visible right in front of everyone, making the crowd even more excited. Then, amid loud applause, the giant creature named Mosasaurus swallowed the entire shark in a single bite. In fact, in the future world, a tech company had brought dinosaurs back to life with the help of gene technology, and to make money, they bought an entire island. After that, all the dinosaurs were kept on that island, and the place was turned into Jurassic World Park. Because of the dinosaurs, the island quickly became the world's biggest tourist attraction. Every year, millions of people started coming there for vacations. But after 20 years of everything running safely, dinosaurs became as ordinary to people as elephants in a zoo. Because of that, people were no longer as interested in them as before. So, to stop falling profits and rising expenses, Dr. Wu's team created a new monster dinosaur by combining the genes of different animals. They gave it a simple yet terrifying name, Indominus Rex. It was created to increase people's interest, but nobody had any idea that this very dinosaur would become the biggest disaster for the entire park. At the same time, the park owner arrived to see the Indominus Rex. That was when they discovered that the dinosaur was much bigger and far more intelligent than expected. It had already tried to escape several times by breaking the glass. After seeing its dangerous intelligence, the owner became nervous and called retired Navy trainer Owen for a security check. Actually, Owen had previously worked in the Navy, and after retirement, he was given the responsibility of training dinosaurs here. At that moment, he was working in the raptor area, where he was trying to control the raptors using the experience he learned during Navy training. Surprisingly, he was actually able to control those dangerous raptors, but suddenly, an accident happened. When a new feeder was trying to catch a small pig, one of the raptors suddenly attacked him and dragged him directly inside the cage. The very next moment, all the raptors focused their attention on that employee, and the situation became so dangerous that he could become their prey at any second. In that critical moment, Owen immediately opened the cage gate and quickly ran inside, standing in front of the new employee while continuously commanding the raptors to back away. After a lot of effort, Owen's teammates managed to pull the employee outside, but at that very moment, the raptors lowered themselves into hunting position. Owen immediately realized that his own life was now in danger, so while continuing to give commands, he slowly kept stepping backward. Then, just as the gate was about to close, he suddenly rolled forward and escaped outside at the perfect moment, saving his life. After that, Claire took Owen to see the Indominus Rex and explained that it was a secret hybrid created using T-Rex genes and had been raised alone since childhood. Hearing this, Owen warned that loneliness could make it dangerous, so he immediately asked to see the dinosaur. But surprisingly, even after food was dropped inside, the Indominus was nowhere to be seen, making everyone nervous. The strangest part was that even the monitoring system could not detect any heat signal, as if the giant monster had suddenly vanished into thin air. Then, Owen noticed huge claw marks on the wall, and they guessed that the Indominus might have escaped over the wall. Hearing this, Claire's face turned pale. She immediately decided to return to the control center, and on the way, ordered the team to quickly track the location chip implanted inside the Indominus's body. On the other side, Owen and the guards inside the park went near the wall to check how the Indominus had escaped. But then a terrifying message came from the control center. The location chip was showing that the Indominus was still inside. Hearing this shocked everyone, because all three of them were still carefully examining those claw marks. The control room staff immediately called the guards and told them to get out of there quickly. The moment Owen heard this, he instantly turned around and ran toward the inner gate. But then the last guard noticed that the Indominus was moving directly toward the same direction where Owen was running. In the middle of the chaos, the dinosaur suddenly attacked one of the guards. Panicking, the second guard reached the gate near the wall and opened it immediately. When he saw his partner being killed by the Indominus, he completely lost control from fear and ran outside the gate without even thinking. Meanwhile, Owen kept running with all his strength and finally managed to escape just before the gate closed. But the Indominus took advantage of the small opening left in the gate and smashed through it with a powerful hit, breaking the entire gate and escaping outside as well. In that dangerous moment, Owen quickly slid across the ground and hid himself under a car. Without wasting any time, he turned back and carefully watched every movement of the dinosaur. From the sound of its heavy footsteps, he realized that the Indominus was now moving toward the guard. At that time, the guard hiding behind the car was so terrified that he could barely breathe. Then, like a monster, the Indominus appeared in front of him and swallowed the guard alive in a single bite. To save himself, Owen quickly cut open the car's fuel tank and let the gasoline spill out so the smell would confuse the Indominus and stop it from detecting him. And after a short while, the Indominus truly failed to sense his presence. After letting out a massive roar, it suddenly walked away. But now that dangerous dinosaur had escaped human captivity. Because of that, everyone sitting in the control room became terrified. At the same time, they discovered that the Indominus was moving toward the visitor area nearly 5,000 meters away, where around 20,000 people were present. Hearing this, Claire prepared to activate the alarm in that area, but the owner standing nearby immediately stopped her. Because once a warning was announced, the entire park would have to be shut down, and questions would be raised about the park's security, which could even lead to the park being closed permanently. That's why the owner believed the security team would handle the dinosaur. At the same time, a team of soldiers had already reached the place where the tracking chip showed the Indominus's location. But even after reaching there, they could not find the Indominus anywhere. Then, the team leader noticed that the tracker lying on the ground had been removed from the Indominus's body. At that exact moment, drops of blood suddenly started falling onto his hand. Seeing this, everyone fearfully looked upward, and the sight they saw shocked them completely. In reality, the Indominus had used chameleon genes to perfectly camouflage itself with the surroundings. The moment the team leader tried to run, the Indominus instantly grabbed him. The remaining guards immediately raised their stun guns and started firing at it, but in the very next moment, the Indominus crushed the team leader to death under its massive foot. The other guards rushed forward to stop it and continuously fired electric shots at the monster, but the Indominus brutally killed them one by one, and in less than a minute, many people lost their lives. The moment Owen heard this news, he angrily warned Claire that the Indominus was a monster that did not even understand what it truly was, and if it escaped into the wild, it would start killing every living thing, because that was the only way it could survive. That's why real weapons would have to be used to stop it. But Claire did not want to see the park she had worked so hard to build turn into a battlefield. Because of this, she rejected Owen's advice. Hearing that, Owen angrily walked out of the control room. However, for the safety of the more than 20,000 people inside the park, Claire finally activated the alarm across the entire park. At the same time, the two brothers were about to enjoy one of the park's attractions, and the moment their tour car started moving, the staff received the danger warning. Because of that, they immediately stopped all the other tour cars. But strangely, the two brothers' car did not stop and slowly continued moving deeper inside the park. In this area, many kinds of herbivore dinosaurs freely roamed around, such as the three-horned Triceratops, the Stegosaurus with huge bone-like plates on its back, and the long-necked Brachiosaurus. All of these dinosaurs were quite peaceful, but suddenly a warning was heard inside the tour car, saying that the system had malfunctioned and the car would now automatically return to the hotel. However, the older brother did not want to go back. On top of that, both boys were the nephews of Claire, the park's operations manager. Because of that, they had special access wristbands. Using it, the older brother directly took control of the system and drove the car even deeper into the park, along with his younger brother. Meanwhile, Claire suddenly remembered her nephews and immediately called the older boy. But at that exact moment, the network went down. Nervously, she asked the staff whether all the tour cars had returned. After checking, they discovered that only one tour car was still missing, the one carrying her two nephews. Hearing this, Claire panicked and immediately ordered the rescue team to go after them. But the rescue team was already busy. so helplessly, she had no choice but to ask Owen for help. On the other side, the two brothers had already reached the final section of the park's tour area. That was when they noticed that the fence ahead had been broken by something powerful. Seeing a path forward, the older brother immediately drove the car inside. After some time, they reached a dense jungle area where several ankylosaurus were roaming around. At first glance, they could only see 4 of them, but the younger brother insisted there were actually 5, so the older brother carefully started counting again. That was when they realized that the reflection visible in the car's glass was not a 5th ankylosaurus. It was the Indominus Rex standing silently behind them. With a massive roar, it kicked the car, sending both brothers flying several feet away along with it. Just as the older brother was about to make a desperate attempt to escape, the heavy tail of an ankylosaurus suddenly smashed into the car, flipping it away. The Indominus Rex thought the ankylosaurus was trying to steal its prey, so it immediately attacked it, and an intense battle began between the two. When the Indominus tried to bite the ankylosaurus, its teeth shook because of the creature's incredibly strong, armor-like skin. Furious, it slashed the ankylosaurus deeply across the back with its sharp claws, and finally flipped it over and killed it in a single blow. Watching all this, the two brothers trembled in fear. Just then, Claire's phone suddenly rang again. The moment the Indominus heard the sound, it noticed the prey hiding inside the car. After staring at it for a moment, it grabbed the car with its claws. Then it opened its massive mouth and tried to swallow it whole. But when that became difficult, it used a clever trick. Holding the car in its teeth, it repeatedly smashed it against the ground. The glass was just about to break when the older brother seized the opportunity, unfastened his seatbelt, grabbed his younger brother, and escaped out of the car. But their movement did not escape the sharp eyes of the Indominus, and it immediately started chasing them. Luckily, there was a small waterfall ahead, but as the Indominus approached, it opened its gigantic mouth. At the perfect moment, both brothers jumped into the waterfall and barely escaped its grasp. At the same time, Claire also arrived in the jungle, but within moments, she realized that the situation there had completely changed. Everywhere around them were the dead bodies of dinosaurs killed by the Indominus. Seeing this made Owen even more certain that the Indominus would not leave anything alive. Soon, they found the tour car in which the two brothers had been riding. But when Claire saw the destroyed vehicle and the mobile phone lying on the ground, she believed her nephews had already been eaten by the Indominus. Thinking that completely shattered her emotionally. Then Owen noticed footprints on the ground leading toward the waterfall. After reaching there, he guessed that the boys were still alive and had probably escaped from there. Hearing this gave Claire some relief. But at the same time, the staff sitting in the control room discovered another terrifying fact. Because of the park alarm, more than 20,000 people had now gathered in the resort area, and the Indominus was rapidly moving toward the same resort to hunt as many victims as possible. It was now clear that a massive disaster was about to happen. Forced by the situation, the park owner finally decided that heavy weapons would have to be used, but because of the lack of staff, the owner himself flew a helicopter armed with heavy weapons to hunt the Indominus. The moment the team located the Indominus, they immediately opened fire on it without hesitation. Due to the intense firing, the Indominus Rex ran straight into the flying dinosaur area, where giant flying dinosaurs began panicking and flying everywhere, creating chaos across the entire island. Suddenly, one of the soldiers firing at the Indominus was snatched away by a flying dinosaur, while another died after crashing into the dinosaur enclosure glass. At the same time, the helicopter slowly lost control and crashed down, causing our wealthy character Irfan Khan to lose his life. Then suddenly, all the flying dinosaurs appeared in front of everyone. Seeing them approaching, Owen immediately ran toward the jungle with Claire. Meanwhile, the two brothers were trying to escape the jungle using an abandoned vehicle. But the younger brother noticed that the winged dinosaurs were following them. Realizing the danger, he quickly told his older brother to drive faster. Eventually, they reached the park's entrance gate, where the staff finally spotted them. After receiving a message from her nephews, Claire and Owen also escaped from the jungle and found a car. They decided to meet everyone at the resort. Meanwhile, all the rides in the park were immediately shut down, and all the visitors were forced to remain inside the resort area. Then an emergency notice was broadcast publicly, telling everyone to hide immediately. At first, people could not understand what was happening, but the moment they saw the flying winged dinosaurs in the sky, they understood everything. Panicking, people started running in every direction, but the winged dinosaurs were extremely fast, and they quickly reached the crowd and began attacking people. Screams echoed throughout the entire park. During this chaos, the two brothers finally reached the resort area and ran into Claire's assistant. But unfortunately, just as the assistant was about to take them somewhere safe, a winged dinosaur grabbed her and carried her away before throwing her into the lake. However, the dinosaur did not know that it had entered the territory of the Mosasaurus. Unknowingly, several flying dinosaurs kept attacking the woman inside the water. Watching this horrifying scene completely terrified the two brothers. Then, just as the flying dinosaurs tried to fly away again, the Mosasaurus suddenly burst out of the water with its mouth wide open and swallowed both the woman and the dinosaur together. Terrified, the two brothers desperately started searching for a place to hide. But at that moment, the security team finally arrived and fired tranquilizer guns at the flying dinosaurs, forcing them to retreat for some time. Because of that, the resort area received a little relief. But the situation was about to become even worse, because as soon as the military officer arrived, he took complete control into his own hands and immediately began putting his real plan into action. In reality, with the help of the raptors, the military officer wanted to hunt down that dangerous dinosaur so he could prove that the raptors could be turned into military weapons. The moment Owen found out about this, he immediately arrived there and angrily punched the officer hard in the face, because he had raised those raptors since they were babies, and he did not want to send them into a deadly mission. But now, the lives of all 20,000 people inside the park were at stake. So after thinking deeply, Owen was finally forced to agree to the mission. They decided to play a kind of hide-and-seek game to capture the Indominus Rex. The plan was simple. First, the raptors would use their powerful sense of smell to locate the Indominus, and then the army would follow behind them and attack with heavy weapons at the right moment. Meanwhile, Claire was afraid that the two brothers might run off again. So she seated them inside a secure control train and sat in front to monitor the entire operation herself. Once the preparations were complete, Owen took out a piece of Indominus meat. He let the raptors smell it, and when all the raptors were ready, Owen finally opened their cages. After that, the heavily armed soldiers followed them deep into the jungle. The entire group moved quickly through the dense forest behind the raptors, and eventually, the raptors suddenly stopped at a deserted location. All the soldiers immediately became alert and pointed their weapons forward, but they had absolutely no idea that something extremely strange was about to happen. In the middle of that tense atmosphere, a gigantic creature slowly emerged from the jungle, and within moments, the Indominus Rex stood right in front of everyone. Owen's plan was that the trained raptors would attack the dinosaur. But surprisingly, both sides of dinosaurs suddenly began staring at each other, as if some strange conversation was happening between them. The raptors did not attack immediately. Instead, they exposed the presence of the humans to the Indominus itself. Seeing this, Owen realized that something was terribly wrong. Suddenly, he understood that the Indominus probably had raptor DNA mixed into its body as well. That was why it was somehow able to communicate with the raptors. Watching this from the control room, the officer panicked and immediately ordered all the soldiers to open fire. From that moment onward, the situation completely fell apart because the very plan meant to destroy the Indominus ended up turning the raptors against the humans. When the soldiers saw the dinosaurs running toward the jungle, they chased after them. But within just a few minutes, almost the entire team was wiped out by the raptors. Watching all of this, Claire became completely terrified. Just then, a soldier appeared in front of them who had barely escaped from the raptors alive. But the moment he was about to get inside the vehicle, a raptor suddenly attacked him from behind. Seeing this horrifying sight, both brothers sitting inside the vehicle panicked. Realizing how dangerous the situation had become, Claire immediately started the vehicle and sped away from there. But suddenly, another raptor came running toward them from the opposite side. The car door was still open, and at any second the raptor could reach them. In fear, they grabbed nearby containers and started throwing them outside the vehicle to block the raptor's path. But the raptors easily avoided them and kept chasing the car. Claire looked through the glass and saw the raptor getting closer rapidly, so she suddenly turned the steering wheel and slammed the car directly into the raptor, knocking it down. But at the same time, another raptor came dangerously close to the two brothers. Panicking, they struck it with an electric stick. At that exact moment, Owen also arrived there. After that, everyone quickly headed toward the control room. Meanwhile, when the officer inside the control room realized that the operation had completely failed, instead of getting angry, he became even happier and rushed toward the lab. But when Owen and the others also reached the lab, they were shocked because all the employees there had already escaped in helicopters. Then, inside Dr. Wu's private office, they discovered the real secret behind the Indominus genes. In reality, the monster had been created by combining the DNA of dozens of different creatures. After this truth was revealed, the officer also stepped outside and openly admitted that the entire plan had been his idea from the beginning, and that he himself was responsible for creating such a dangerous creature. But before you could finish speaking, the pack of raptors suddenly arrived there, and the very next moment, one of the raptors slowly moved toward the officer. Terrified, the officer immediately tried to use the same method Owen used while training the raptors, but the raptors suddenly attacked him. Seeing this, Owen immediately escaped from the lab with Claire and the children. But suddenly, the remaining 3 raptors appeared in front of them and surrounded them from all sides. One of those raptors had blue stripes on her body, and her name was Blue. She was the leader of the pack. Owen looked into her eyes and realized that she was not his enemy, so he immediately removed the control device from her head. At that exact moment, the Indominus arrived there with heavy footsteps and slowly began approaching them, but what happened next was something nobody had imagined. The Indominus tried to command the raptors to attack the humans, but Blue suddenly turned toward Owen as if she remembered something. Instead of attacking the humans, she signaled Owen to run. Then she turned toward the Indominus and let out a furious roar. Seeing this made the Indominus even angrier. It swung its massive tail and threw Blue several meters away. But the moment her 2 sisters standing behind saw their leader fighting, they immediately turned around and launched a fierce attack. However, against the gigantic body and terrifying strength of the Indominus Rex, their attacks proved far too weak, and both raptors were killed during the battle. At that extremely dangerous moment, Claire suddenly got an idea. She immediately contacted her teammate in the control room and ordered him to open paddock number 9, because right now, they desperately needed an even stronger dinosaur to defeat this monster. The moment the paddock opened, the original deadly T-Rex stepped out, the very first one created 20 years ago. Cleverly, Claire soon brought the T-Rex face-to-face with the Indominus Rex, and from that moment the terrifying battle between the 2 monsters finally began. When the T-Rex clashed head-on with the strange hybrid dinosaur, it reminded the Indominus Rex who the real king of the park truly was. But during the intense fight, because of the difference in strength and the Indominus Rex's deadly claws, the old T-Rex slowly started losing power. At that dangerous moment, Blue suddenly returned once again and jumped straight back into the fight without hesitation. Her fast and agile movements distracted the Indominus Rex for a split second, and that gave the T-Rex the perfect chance to attack. Recovering itself, the T-Rex teamed up with Blue and launched a deadly assault on the Indominus Rex. Finally, with Blue's help, the T-Rex found the perfect opening and used all its strength to violently throw the Indominus Rex away. But the sound of that massive collision immediately caught the attention of the ocean's true predator. Suddenly, the gigantic Mosasaurus burst out of the water at lightning speed. It clamped its enormous jaws around the neck of the Indominus Rex and dragged it deep into the ocean forever. And just like that, the Indominus Rex was finally gone for good.